This is Shaar HaYichud, the Gate of Unity, commonly called Kuntras HaHitbonenut, the tract on contemplative meditation, by the Holy Rabbi Dov Ber of Lubavitch, the Mittler Rebbe. Translated by Rabbi Yehuda Shimon Markel, edited by Rabbi Amiram Markel, narrated by Shlomo Zaks. Part 1. Hitbonenut, Contemplative Meditation. Before beginning, several important points must be made. It is not enough to go through the contemplative meditation of Shaar HaYichud once, because the first time merely familiarizes a person with the concept superficially and does not produce any insight and comprehension into the unity of Hashem. Rather, to attain true insight, comprehension and concentration, one must do so repeatedly until it becomes etched in the mind and heart. When terms and concepts are introduced without explanation, do not be concerned. Everything will be explained thoroughly later, if not in this chapter, then in a later chapter. Part 1 comprises the first 9 chapters and is a general introduction explaining what contemplative meditation is and how to approach it. Part 2 is comprised of chapters 10 through 54 and constitutes the meditation itself. Chapter 1. It was explained at length in a special pamphlet concerning the particular manners in which one may be aroused in his mind and heart, and the thought which is born of contemplation, hitbonenut, according to the 5 levels of the soul, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yichida. We now must clearly explain the matter of contemplation itself to understand what it essentially is and what one should contemplate. In essence, contemplation, hitbonenut, is the matter of gazing strongly into the depths of a concept, keeping one's mind upon it for long periods until he understands it thoroughly in all its particular parts and details. This is the inner aspect of the faculty of bina, comprehending. In the terminology of the Talmud, it is called iyun, in-depth study, as stated in Tractate Sukkah. There is girsah, surface study, and there is iyun, in-depth study. The explanation of surface study is that one understands the subject matter only at first glance. That is, he flows quickly through the subject matter which he studies without restraining himself and pausing at all as known. For example, one may gaze upon a certain object without contemplating it at all, to understand the nature of how or what it is. He does not examine all its inner and outer parts, except in a passing fashion. Certainly, with the passage of time, he will forget about it altogether. Furthermore, he will only be able to relate to the general matter of what he saw to his fellow man. This is because his eyes only fell upon it in a passing fashion, without keeping his eyes upon it at all. This is likewise the case when the mind's eye gazes upon a specific logic in just a passing fashion. Because he understands the concept only at first glance without pausing and restraining himself to analyze and investigate it properly, he will not come to know the concept to its ultimate depth at all. Now, there are 3 matters in every concept. These are depth, length, and width. The width is the explanation of the concept from all angles with many particulars. This is analogous to the width of a wide river. In contrast, the understanding of a concept simply as it is similar to a narrow river. The length of a concept is the tremendous descent of the concept to invest it into various different analogies so that it may even be brought within the reach of a small child. This is analogous to a flowing river which draws out to its length. This concept is explained at length in Chassidic manuscripts in regard to the matter of the length of the hides. The depth of a concept is analogous to the depth of a river. From its depth the river widens, but in and of itself it is not wide at all. However, it is the main essence of the river which is called the undercurrent, for it is the main strength of its flow from its source. The waters which are above the depth, to its height or to its sides, and even to its length, are secondary to it, for they only represent the spreading forth of its strength. Likewise, the depth of the concept is the aspect of its essential point, as it is in and of itself. This is called the depth of the comprehended, Omek HaMusag. Everything that spreads forth in the explanation of this concept, either the great width with many angles and details, and also the great descent of the length, and even the height above, to understand higher concepts through this concept, are all drawn from the essential depth of the point, which is how it spreads forth from Chokhmah, insight, which is called Ayin, nothing. Note: through the aspect of height, one's understanding may reach all the way until the depth of the heights, like the overpowering of the waters in the time of the flood during the times of Noah. Likewise, there will be a spiritual flood, which refers to the spreading forth of the teachings of Chassidus, in the days of Mashiach, in the 600th year of the life of Noah, the year 5600 of the Jewish calendar, which corresponds to 1840 of the Common Era. This is as stated in the Zohar, that the well springs of wisdom will open. These are the springs of the depths of wisdom, which will overpower and rise up, and will cover all the mountains. Then the reservoirs of the heavens shall open up, and there shall be drawn down the waters which are above the heavens. This is called the depth of the height, which is dependent upon the depth below, because the beginning is bound up with the end, as in the verse, "Cast your questions to the depths, or raise it on high," etc. End of note. This is as stated, a river goes out from Eden. Bina, comprehending, is called a river, while Chokhmah, insight, is called a spring, as known. This then is the mode of study called Iyun, in-depth study, that he keeps his mind on the concept and analyzes it greatly. This is a slow, in-depth study, which is the opposite of the quick surface level of study. The purpose of this is specifically to reach the depth of the concept, as it is in its innermost essential point. This is analogous to one who gazes his eyes upon a certain object, but not in a passing manner. Rather, he keeps his eyes upon it with great attention and scrutiny, taking his time until he knows it well, in all its internal and innermost components. This type of study is called hitbonenut, contemplation. The word hitbonenut is specifically spelled with 2 nuns, to signify that one is to contemplate it and analyze it greatly. This is in accordance with the explanation of Rashi on the word iyun, to stand upon the subject to understand it clearly. We find that this aspect of iyun only acts in an aspect of an instrument for the delving of Bina itself. For at first glance, this aspect of iyun is called the delving of the concentration in common usage. In truth, this is not the case, for the delving of the concentration only acts as an instrument that allows one to come to the actual depth of the concept. Higher than this level is what is called delving, ma'amik. It reaches higher than even Chokhmah itself. Now seemingly Chokhmah is literally an aspect of the intangible nothingness of the concept, as it exists even before it comes into the category of being the essential depth or point of the concept in the comprehension of Bina. As mentioned previously, it is like the waters of a spring in comparison to the waters of a river. Nonetheless, the aspect of delving in this source of the concept, its source reaches into the very source of the flow of the waters of the spring of Chokhmah, which is called the depths of Chokhmah, or the hiddenness of Chokhmah. For, just as there are depth, length and width in Bina, which is called yesh, something, there is likewise a depth, length and width in the spring of Chokhmah, which is called ayin, nothing. The depth of the spring is the beginning and source of its inception at its very depth. From there its flow spreads upward until drops of water burst forth into revelation from their concealment within the ground. Its utmost concealment is in its ultimate depth below, in the aquifer, as in the verse, "The wellsprings of the abyss burst forth." For the earth is riddled with fissures and veins of water which have a primary depth. About this it is stated, Chokhmah is found from nothing, i.e. from the concealed Chokhmah, which is called the depth of Chokhmah. Now, Chokhmah is the discovery of new insight which emerges like a lightning bolt, as known. The source of its inception, in its hidden depths, is its innermost essence. This is similar to the previous explanation of the matter of the depth of the comprehended Omek HaMusag of Bina. However, that was only in regard to the depth of the comprehension of Bina, which is felt in a tangible way with revealed explanations on a subject. The depth of this explanation of the concept is only the aspect of the nothing of the something of comprehension. Therefore, its depth, which is its essential point, is of no comparison to the nothing of Chokhmah before it comes into the category of comprehension altogether. Nevertheless, although the depth of the comprehended, which is called the 50th gate of Binah, is drawn from the nothing of Chokhmah to something, its source also reaches into the depths of Chokhmah itself. Note: this is like a spring will flow out of the chamber of the Holy of Holies. Its beginning will be like the antennae of a grasshopper, and it will then widen into the expanse of a river. See Tractate Yoma 77b. End note. It is clearly observable that the delving specifically into the depth of the comprehended Omek HaMusag of Binah will bring one to the source and root of the concept, thus enabling him to bring new light of Chokhmah insight into Binah, tangible comprehension. This then is what is called ma'amik, delving, which is an active verb, for he is activating the depths of Chokhmah and Binah. According to what we have explained, we may understand the statement, understand with wisdom and be wise in understanding. In Chassidic manuscripts it is explained that wise in understanding refers to Ab of Sag, Chokhmah of Binah. This is the ability to understand a new insight within the comprehension of Binah. This only comes through the aspect of iyun, the analysis mentioned earlier, which clarifies all of the particular parts until they are clear. This iyun analysis is called Binah of Binah. After a person has done this, he is capable of bringing new insight into understanding and comprehension, but only within the subject matter itself. This insight is called Chokhmah of Binah. Now, Keter of Binah is the aforementioned depth of the comprehended, the Omek HaMusag, whose source reaches into the depth of Chokhmah, as explained above. Now, understand with wisdom refers to Sag of Ab, Binah of Chokhmah. This is the power of explanation within Chokhmah itself, that he is capable of bringing it into many different explanations and facets. Nonetheless, it is still higher than the comprehension of Binah. This type of understanding may be understood from the explanation of the statement regarding Moshe. He could not find men of understanding, Nevonim. This Navon specifically refers to one who understands one thing from another. The reason he is capable of this is because of the source of this power of understand with wisdom, Binah of Chokhmah, which reaches into the depths of Chokhmah, which was mentioned previously. For this reason, from one subject matter and wisdom, he is capable of understanding a completely different wisdom. This aspect of understanding is much greater in level than that of a Chacham. That is, a Chacham only has insights from nothing into the particular subject matter of his investigation, but he does not understand an entirely different wisdom from it. Nonetheless, the source of the comprehension of a new insight within the field of his comprehension is also the matter of understand with wisdom, Binah of Chokhmah. In other words, its source is in the ability to understand one thing from another. However, it remains concealed in the source of the intellect. This will suffice those of understanding. We find that the order of levels is as follows. First is the aspect of iyun, analysis, mentioned earlier. That is, to keep one's mind on the concept and investigate its particulars until it is completely clear. This is called Binah of Binah, to clarify and distinguish between all the inner and outer specifics with the utmost precision. From this, it is also possible from there to be the aspect of a length, to lower the concept through many investments until it is made tangible to the comprehension of a child, as explained previously. Nonetheless, he does not yet have the aspect of a width with various explanations of all its angles. Following this is the aspect of Chokhmah of Binah, which is the ability to bring forth insights, but only in the specific subject under his investigation, as previously explained. This is the aspect of the width from which the aspect of Binah creates a length. Nonetheless, the extent of the length and width of Chokhmah and Binah is dependent upon the aspect of the depth of the comprehension, which is called Keter of Binah. It is clearly observable with any comprehension of any subject matter that according to the measure of the depth will be the measures of the length and the width. This will suffice those of understanding. According to what we have explained, What is commonly called ha'amakat hada'at, the delving of the concentration or meditation, is not the actual delving into the depth of the comprehended, the omek hamusag. This is because the faculty of da'at has no relation to it. Rather, the faculty of da'at is the aspect of the strong connection of one's feelings to a concept. It is this type of concentration which brings one to the depth of the comprehended concept, but only after the aforementioned analysis, iyun, which acts as an instrument for the depth of the comprehended, omek hamusag, as previously explained. Now, da'at, concentration, also possesses the three dimensions of length, width, and depth. For example, there are those who have a short attention span and those who have a long attention span. There are those who have a broad attention span but not a long attention span. There are those who possess strong concentration and those of weak concentration, like women who have a light da'at. That is because they lack the depth of concentration, subsequently their concentration is short. The difference between a weak concentration and a deep concentration can be understood by the difference between a child and an adult as known. A child has a weak concentration. This is to say that he only possesses a very external connection or feelings towards the object of his understanding or desire. For this reason, a child can be easily seduced into desiring the opposite of his original desire. In contrast, an adult has a deep connection to the object of his understanding and desire, which is called the depth of concentration or interest. Because he possesses this depth, this automatically draws out a length of concentration and a width of concentration, as we previously explained regarding Binah. The sign for this deep concentration is that because of the great depth of his connection to the intellectual concept, it appears as if he is restraining and focusing the organ of his brain. It is specifically through this deep concentration that he can come to an essential and deep comprehension of the subject matter, through the aforementioned analysis of Binah. The aspect of iyun, analysis, though, is the very opposite of restraint and focus of all his mental capacities. Although initially the analysis of Binah begins with a focus and restraint, it nonetheless immediately spreads forth with great expansiveness with the clarification of all the particular components and details as known. This is not the case with the restraint and focus of the delving of the concentration. On the contrary, the concentration is only the restraint and focus, the aspect of gathering all of one's mental capacities to connect only to this specific matter. This is the very opposite of the spreading forth of the analysis with a great breadth into the subject matter. However, it is through the delving of the concentration that one can come to the depth of the concept until its very source in the depths of Chokhmah and Binah. Through the above, he is capable of reaching the aspect of the upper da'at, which unites Chokhmah and Binah, as was explained previously regarding the matter of the depth of the comprehended omek hamusag of Binah. This is the meaning of the statement, da'at is hidden in the mouth of Ima. It likewise is stated, Moshe, who corresponds to the faculty of da'at, merited Binah, which refers specifically to the 50th gate of Binah. These two faculties are interdependent, as is explained in various writings and Chassidic manuscripts. This will suffice for those of understanding.